Hello, hello. Day 18. I can say that with confidence because I've got my computer here and I can look down, see that the last one was 17, and look back up. Uh, yeah, Edmonton. That was 3 days of craziness, man. Absolute craziness. It was a lot of fun. It was scary in some ways, but it was definitely good overall. Overall, uh, there were some very rough spots. For instance, uh, yeah, that car rental thing. Yeah. Well, when I came back, apparently, maybe someone sat on my rental in the crazy Uber heat of that was happening over the last 3 days and dented the hood. And so to fix the dent, the big dent probably as big as my hand, it's probably coming out of my pocket. Yeah, and I don't really know how much that's going to be, and I don't think I have enough in the account that I use in order to pay the rental companies. So yeah, this is not looking good in that regard. I mean it'll be worth it in the end, of course, because you know I'll be making a lot of money and uh, even if it's like $1,000, I'll still be able to scrape through, but it'll really hurt like a lot. Uh, yeah, but anyways, onto the good side of things. Uh, yeah, I'll start at the beginning right after I press the stop recording button on Sunday. So I did that, and it was really hot in that Airbnb. I was sweating my butt off, and I immediately like stripped down, took a shower, came out, and put on a t-shirt and underwear, and I tried to sleep in that, and it just wasn't working. I was on the second floor. Yeah, that was not working. So I took off the t-shirt. I took off the the sleeping pants, and I was just in my underwear, and I was barely able to scrape by, but I was lying awake in there for a very long time. I don't actually know how much sleep I got that night because I wasn't really sure where I was supposed to go. They hadn't emailed me that. So, uh, yeah, I woke up at like 5:30 a.m. and I texted I emailed one of my bosses saying, "Where should I go, boss? Send me in, coach," was literally the name of the email. And yeah, he emailed me back at like 7. Now, I knew that I'd probably have to be somewhere by 9, so it worked out. It still worked out. Yeah. Uh, so I go there and I met uh, the guy that's training me, and he's really chill, and I've got my notebook with all and start writing my notes and stuff like that, and he's pretty impressed that I'm writing notes. And so yeah, over the course of the 3 days that I'm training with him, it's I write all these scattered notes over the course of what I think roughly like 12 pages of just random notes and like rudely, roughly categorized. Uh, yeah, he's a really chill dude, and I definitely know now that I need to buy a lot more equipment than the equipment that they're providing me. I'm gonna need to get a laser measure. So it's a measurement tool uh, that literally measures from the base of the tool itself to wherever the laser points, and it just finds the distance somehow. I haven't actually looked up how that works yet, so it's just magic in my eyes right now. And so rather than use a tape measure and measure an entire house and all of the windows and the height of each ceiling and all of that, which would like take 2 hours in and of itself probably, you just like point and click and boom, you've got the distance. Point and click, point and click, point and click from all these different angles and directions. And he was like a wizard at this thing, man. He was like going at these interesting angles and like, hitting some like interesting parts of the house in order to measure really easily. Yeah. It was it was fun. It was a fun thing to watch. Uh yeah. And I also need to get a telescopic ladder. So that is a ladder that instead of opens up like this, it starts off collapsed and it literally uh, pulls out like one rung at a time. So it's sort of like, a telescope, how it pulls out like that. Well, imagine that on both of the legs of the ladder. So he's able to pick that up and bring it with him up to like the second story of houses in order to access their attics. And that also looked super duper handy, and like I'd be struggling to death if I were to try to do it another way. Another thing I'm going to need to get is probably a better printer, honestly. This thing's really old and it prints things crooked, and yeah, it's. Anyways, I'm sort of getting slightly off topic. Yeah, so we go through on Monday, and we have a lot of jobs on these days. Uh, I we had like 5 jobs, and usually each job is scheduled 2 hours apart. So if you have 4 jobs, that's an 8-hour day. If you have 5 jobs, then that's like a 10-hour day. Well, on Monday and Tuesday, we had 5 jobs on each of those days. Thing was that uh, my trainer is quite experienced, so the schedulers know to, schedule them closer together in time. So we were able to get out somewhat a little bit earlier, but we got out at roughly 5 both days. So it was a 9-hour day for 2 days in a row, which was pretty difficult, but I managed. But right now I'm thinking about the paperwork that I'm going to have to do. Each house I'm going to have to do like half an hour of paperwork at home for. And so if I do 4 houses a day, then that means I've got the 8 hours of, the inspection, and then add in an extra 4 half hours, so that's an extra 2 hours. So that's 10 hours a day I'm going to be working. I mean, it's worth it. As an employee, I'm probably getting $100 per job. So that's like $400 a day. Canadian dollars for you American guys out there. Or, to, people around the world that might be watching in the future. Yeah, 400 Canadian dollars a day. Ridiculous. That's crazy, crazy money. That's like 100,000 a year if I consistently do 4 jobs a day, 5 days a week for 50 weeks in the year. Yeah, it's ridiculous, man. ridiculous. Yeah. So, they actually got me to take back a door that I'll be using. It's this fan that you set up in the front door. So they had this at the Airbnb, and they wanted me to take it back on the airplane. And look at those two boxes. They're so big. This one here, and this one here. They wanted me to take these on the airplane with me. And I have never taken any luggage that big before. So that was quite the interesting experience. On the side of the box, the big one, it had this picture of explosive batteries, and it was like caution on this thing. And apparently, an energy advisor before me had to also take these two boxes back with him, and he had some troubles with security because of the explosive batteries sticker that was on it. And so I asked my boss what I should do, and he literally just said, "Yeah, just rip off the stickers. You'll be fine." So I did, and here they are. I had absolutely no troubles in security. Yeah, they didn't blow up on the airplane, which is a very, very good thing. Yeah, so here I am with a big old fan that's like, it's like this big, and it sucks all the air out of a house so that you can find the different cracks and stuff in the building envelope, and you're able to literally feel, if you put your hand along those cracks, the stream of air coming out of your hand. Yeah, and so that's really good for energy efficiency, because if you're heating your home and it's all just going through these cracks, then you're really not doing much of anything. You're trying to heat the neighborhood at that point, and you're making your furnace work way, way, way harder. Same thing if you're air conditioning the home. You're getting all this cold air into your house and then immediately seeping out through these cracks. So that's literally the first thing you should do if you're wanting to renovate your house in order to have a smaller energy bill at the end of the year. You should seal all the cracks in your building envelope. Yeah, and so second step, you need to so it's first it's air sealing. Second is insulation. So first you've got sort of the air carrying the temperature of the house outside, like literally just moving outside. That's the easiest way for the temperature to seep out of your house. But also insulation is very important, because at that point it's the conduction through the building envelope. So now it's the air's hitting the wall here on, let's say this is the inside of your house, and let's say it's hot and it's cold outside. So now the physical building envelope, the physical walls, are conducting the heat through the material. And then insulation is basically like a bunch of closed air pockets and air is really a really good insulator, apparently, if it doesn't move. So you've got this really fuzzy stuff in the middle that makes it so that it takes a really long time for all of that heat to propagate through the building envelope, and then go through on the other side. And then probably after you're done with like getting better insulation, either if your walls have really bad insulation, then you'd probably want to insulate the exterior, because there would be a problem if you put insulation on top of the other insulation on the interior. You could do it, but it would be a little tricky to get your desired amount of insulation, because there's this thing called the vapor barrier that's on the warm side, and if you have too much insulation that's between the vapor barrier and the warm side, then you're going to have some problems with mildew and mold growing in there, which is really bad. So you usually want to start insulating on the exterior of your wall, which might make your house not look quite as nice, but it's going to look really nice on your energy bill at the end of the year. Also, ceiling insulation is really easy to do, because you literally hire someone to walk up there, get this big fan with a bunch of insulation in the bottom, and they blow it up in there. And so the government is giving these rebates for people who are doing different energy upgrades in their house. So after insulation, you're probably going to want to look into your windows, because windows are effectively a big hole that's in your wall. And windows are a big source of radiant heating. Radiant heat loss. So that's the light literally just traveling through the window and heating up your home, or traveling out of your house and heating up the exterior world. But also there's the physical conduction. Let's say you have one tiny single window pane, and that's all the barrier is between your house and the outside world. Well, you've got the walls with all that insulation, right? That's going to take a while for the heat to go through. But you've just got a tiny little window pane right there. The heat's gonna hit the window, and then it's gonna heat up and travel that distance, and then boom, go outside into the outside world, or vice versa. And so what we do in order to improve the energy efficiency of windows is we get more window panes stacked next to each other. So a really highly efficient window would have like 3 window panes that are next to each other, and with airtight gas in the middle. And you don't just use any regular gas, because that would be boring and not as efficient as argon gas, because argon gas is heavier, I think, and it's like a better insulator, basically. And not only do you have argon gas, you have a reflective coating that's still transparent to visible light, but it reflects basically all other light, so that radiant heating isn't able to penetrate the coating there. Yeah, so you get some really fancy windows, and you're pretty set there. After windows, you'd probably want to look into getting a highly efficient furnace and water heater. So the older models maybe are like 80% efficient or like 90% efficient, whereas the newer stuff's like 97% efficient. And so that's not as big of a deal as sealing the cracks in your walls, but it is still a decently good deal, especially if you want to have a net zero energy usage house, at which point after you do the furnace and the water heater, you there's 2 different directions you can go. If your house is really, really, really airtight, you're going to have problems with moisture and air quality problems in your house, because the air is just going to go stagnant within your house, and that's not good. So you're going to want to get mechanical ventilation, so you physically are moving the air out of your house and using that air in order to heat the air that's incoming into your house. So it's like you're recovering the whatever temperature that you have in your house by transferring the heat from the bad old air into the new good air that's coming from outside. And so that you have a really nice air coming in all the time. So there's that, but then there's also solar panels, which is like an extremely long-term investment for the cost. Same thing with the water heater and furnace. That's like super duper expensive for the amount of energy savings you have every year. But if I guess you're super duper environmentally conscious, then sure, I suppose you can get solar panels, and the government really likes you, and so they're gonna give you rebates on that as well. So yeah, that's generally speaking the program. I walk into a house, see what it's like right now, ask the homeowner what they want to have done, and by the end, I tell them about different problems that I saw and what the rebates are going to be on whatever they want to do, and give them recommendations personalized based off of like the really bad problems that I saw. Yeah, and that's basically the whole deal of my thing. And then after they've finished their renovations, then I'm scheduled to come back again and see that they've actually done the work and that it's actually effective, and then that qualifies them for the rebates. Yeah, so I think it's a really good job overall. I'm helping people out, and it's definitely saving people money. So that's good. And now I'm able to like clearly and concisely talk about what it is, whereas before just reading the material it was kind of difficult to, all put into words. But that's part of what I gained in training, the ability to talk about it without sounding like a hyper specialized fool. All right. In other news, in terms of like the accountability thing, I didn't have enough time in order to worry about that most of the time. I was just like, happy to have like the $50 a day for food and trying to like spend that maximally, and just trying to sleep. On the last day that I needed to sleep, Tuesday, I didn't have access to the Airbnb, so my company had me book a hotel, and it had AC, thank God, and so I was actually able to like sleep very well and very nicely in that time, and so thank God for that. Yeah, this morning I actually had more difficulty with accountability. There's a lot of like uh, fear and stuff like that, like running through my mind, because on in midway through me doing the stuff, I got an email from NRCan, which is Natural Resources Canada, saying, "Hey, you know that exam that you booked for next week Monday? Well, actually, we have a plan to upgrade the website, so that's going to take 3 weeks, and the website's going to be shut down for those 3 weeks. And the day that you had your exam planned, well, sorry, it starts on that day. So we need to refund you, but you're not going to be able to do this exam for like 4 weeks." In the meantime, though, I guess I can buy the materials that I need, which is a thumbs up, I guess. And then there's also like the problem with the dent in the car, which was another headache. So I was having some difficulties, like some mental battles there, and like I was praying a lot, saying, Lord, I need you. Please make it be inexpensive and stuff like that. I mean, thank God I didn't get into a crazy accident where, as I said last time, I'm driving through a green light doing absolutely nothing wrong, and someone just barrels into me like right through a red light in the middle of an intersection and slams me into a few other cars, and it's pinned on me for some reason because, yeah. So, recently I've had some prophecies, well, yeah, some prophecies regarding creativity and creating stuff. So I've always been a decently creative guy, and while I was on the airplane, I decided that I wanted to write a song, and that turned into more poetry than just songwriting. And I'm really proud of the last one, but I'll start with the first one because it sort of encapsulates how I felt about the creativity gift. So this one's called Co-Written. I wonder what will come. I'm taking my first step, creating as you once created me. You wrote from the horizon on the beauty of the earth. How great and awesome is your name. And as I plan out my steps, you establish my ways. As I walk them out, you expand my way. We're co-creating. We're co-writing. You push me forward. You direct my paths. We're co-creating. We're co-writing. I will walk on through. My delight is in you. You are. I am. Your beloved. My betrothed. And in this waltz of this life I stumble. You lead me so I will not tumble. In the waltz of this life I tremble. You hold me close and I will not crumble. Yeah, so that one's intended to be a song. I haven't really figured out the chords or anything like that, but yeah, I'm imagining sort of in that last part, that's sort of like the bridge. If I stumble, you lead so I will not tumble. Probably something like that. In the waltz of this life I stumble. Probably like a da 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 da. So in the waltz of this life I stumble. You lead so I will not tumble. Maybe da or da. So in the waltz of this life I stumble. You lead so I will not tumble. In the waltz of this life, the waltz of this life I tremble. Hold me close and I will not crumble. In the waltz of this life I stumble. You lead so I will not tumble. Oh, need some workshopping still. Okay, so E minor, and then C, and G, and then D. So that is probably like major 6, no wait, 6 minor, 6th, 4th, 1st, and 5th. Pretty sure those are the musical terms. Wonder co-creating, we're co-writing. I'll walk on through, my delight is in you. Something like that, maybe. So I wrote 2 other things. They're more like poems. They're probably not going to be songs. The second one's kind of personal. It's sort of about being in the glum, in the pits of despair, where you're in the middle of like being whenever I mess up and I'm sort of stuck in this downward spiral, yeah, I'll let it speak for itself. So this one's called "Help!" exclamation point. The darkness suffocates me. My body and mind have been defiled, my nakedness exposed for all to see. They giggle and jeer, I'm beguiled. Gaslit, scarlet, I'm longing to return, but cower, afraid of the sun. The pain in my soul makes me yearn for the glory of the wondrous sun. Yeah. I was trying to think of like where the redemption part of that would be, but I was like, I'm not getting anything, so I'll move on. I went on to the next song. I mean, the next poem thing. So initially, because I was in the airplane, I looked outside and I was like, all right, so now that's the bottom. That's the pits of despair right there. So what's the opposite of that? So I was like thinking about soaring. So initially it started off as like when I'm flying. So I initially wanted it to be flying, but later on there was a bit of a twist, and I was like, okay, I'll rewrite a little bit of it, and it'll be about something slightly different. So it's called Clay. When I'm lifted above the clouds, keep me grounded in you. Let me never forget your kindness in the storms. You covered and guided me through the lightning. When I'm lifted ever closer to you, I will share in your yoke. The lightness of its pain keeps me humble. Its weightiness fills me with strength. As you are revealed and my heart expands, let us serve as a beacon of hope, a brick of your lighthouse on Mount Zion, built to glorify you. So, it's basically about, you know how like we're jars of clay that have something great that's placed within, but also we make up the church, which in and of itself is the beautiful bride that also has like, you know, she's beautiful because what's been placed within. And so it's sort of about being one of the bricks that goes into the church. So I'm like sort of being lifted onto like this mountain where this lighthouse is being built. When I'm lifted above the clouds, keep me grounded in you. It's an interesting sort of dichotomy there where like, you know, I'm going to like a high place. I am like on the mountains, but I still don't want to I want to remember the place where I was gaslit scarlet, longing to return. I want to remember where I came from. I want to still be grounded in that way. And it's also interesting because I'll be grounded in the lighthouse. I'll literally be serving as like part of the ground there, maybe. So let me never forget your kindness in the storms. You covered me and guided me through the lightning. I'm thinking about potentially editing that final line there through the lightning is a little clunky, but whatever, it's the first draft. When I'm lifted ever closer to you, I will share in your yoke. So, like, I'm being placed into this lighthouse and I'm sort of being squeezed and squished, and I'll be, like, serving as part of what's lifting up. I'll share in your yoke. The lightness of its pain keeps me humble. So it's like, it's not just that the pain is light, it is painful. It's like genuinely painful. But like there's a lightness to it. It's really difficult to describe for some reason. Uh, it's like, you know, I remember what it was like down there. It was really bad. But it's painful to take on responsibility. But it's a good pain. It's a light. Your yoke is easy and your burden is light. It's still a burden. It's still a yoke, but it's also being carried by him, and in some ways it's carrying me. So the lightness of its pain keeps me humble. The weightiness fills me with strength. There's a something very urgent about it. It's like, oh man, suddenly I'm not just in this for me. There's like people around me that I need to reach out to, and I need to take on the responsibility. I need to be a man. Its weightiness fills me with strength. As you are revealed and my heart expands, let us serve as a beacon of hope. So, like, my heart is sort of the vessel by which God's able to place his spirit and his love, really, for others and for him. So as I'm revealed, as he is revealed to me, his love is revealed to me, my capacity to love is deepened and broadened. Let us serve as a beacon of hope. So together we are all this sort of vessel that one kind of explains itself. A brick on your lighthouse. A brick of your lighthouse on Mount Zion. I actually go to a church called Church of Zion, so that's partially one thing, but also biblically speaking, Mount Zion is where the temple is. So the lighthouse is sort of like the tabernacle or the temple. It's the beacon of hope that shines his glory out to the ends of the earth. I want to be a lamp put on a hill. I don't want to be covered. I don't want to have that covered. I want to shine that light out for other people to see the hope of glory, Jesus. We're built to glorify you. That's the end of the poem. So yeah, it's kind of crazy how much came out of that like hour and a half, 2 hours of flying. Yeah. Co-writing. Yeah, the first one's like, okay. The second one is like deep and hard to talk about. The third one is like, yeah, there's like theological deepness in there. Yeah, so I like that. And that helped me calm down. And one thing that sort of inspired me to write those things was this song by Matt Gilman, As the Deer. So I'll just play a little bit of it. I'm just trying to figure out. So pants my soul for you, oh God. Just as the deer pants for the water brook, so pants my soul for you, oh God. Just as the deer pants for the water brook, so pants my soul for you, oh God. Just as the deer pants for the water brook, so pants my soul for you, oh God. Set my heart on a pilgrimage, through the valley of weeping I will go. Set my heart on a pilgrimage until I'm here before God in Zion. Okay. I set my heart on a pilgrimage, through the valley of weeping I will go. Set my heart. Yeah, that one's difficult. I set my heart on a pilgrimage, through the valley of weeping I will go. I set my heart on a pilgrimage until I'm appear before God in Zion. That one's kind of weird and forced. I don't really know how to sing that well. I'll need to practice that. My soul longs and even faints for the courts of the Lord. Lord, my heart and my flesh cry out for you, oh God. You're my sun and my shield, you give grace and glory. No good thing will you withhold from those who seek your face. Oh, just as the deer pants for the water brook, so pants my soul for you, oh God. And just as the deer pants for the water brook, so pants my soul for you, oh God. Set my heart on a pilgrimage, through the valley of weeping I will go. I set my heart on a pilgrimage till I appear for you in Zion. I set my heart on a pilgrimage, through the valley of weeping I will go. Set my heart on a pilgrimage until I be here before God in Zion. Just as the deer pants for the water brook, so pants my soul for you, oh God. Just as the deer pants for the water brook, so pants my soul for you, oh God. Oh, my soul for you, O God, and just as the deer pants for the water brook, so pants my soul for you. Yeah. Proverb down below. I'll see you guys tomorrow.